Welcome to another time travel adventure as we explore another part of Pittsburgh's Mount Washington neighborhood. We'll begin our journey where we left off last time at the top of the McArdle Roadway. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, people were clamoring for another way to get up to the top of Mount Washington, as the 6 funiculars or inclines were constantly packed with people going back and forth from work. McArdle, a resident of Mount Washington, became a member of City Council in 1912, and as a member of the City Planning Commission proposed building a roadway up the 600-foot hillside. It took a long time to get everything approved, but after the Liberty Tubes were finished in 1924, things began to move along pretty quickly. Work began in 1925, and despite a few setbacks, it was completed in 1928, the same year as the Liberty Bridge. After McArdle died in 1940, Pittsburgh City Council voted to rename Mount Washington Road the McArdle Roadway. The nondescript bridge that exists today over Sycamore Street looks nothing like the bridge that they built over it in the 1920s. In addition to Sycamore Street, the bridge also went over the old Castle Shannon Incline, which began at the bottom of the hill right next to where Arlington Avenue starts off of Carson. We'll talk more about that in the next video. Not only did they cross deep valleys to build the roadway, but they also had to dig out a lot of hillside, as you see in this picture of the Monongahela Incline. It was demanding work in a hillside filled with old coal mine shafts in what was used to be known as Coal Hill. And despite the occasional landslide, which closes the roadway sometimes, it gives great access to Mount Washington, as well as Route 51, and offers a great view of the city. So now let's jump down to the bottom of Woodruff Street. The trolley tracks you see here were put in by the West End Traction Company. They started at the top of the Castle Shannon Incline on Bailey Avenue and then came down Woodruff, past Banksville Road to Woodville Avenue and into the West End. Trolley service stopped in 1931 when Sawmill Run was extended to the traffic circle at Banksville Road, and the tracks were removed in 1935 when Woodruff was rebuilt. The concrete tunnel over Sawmill Run Boulevard carried the Wabash Railroad to its tunnel, which begins right next to Woodruff Street. And as I make this video, the city of Pittsburgh is trying to tear it down against the wishes of the property owners who use it as a parking lot. Now let's go to the top of Woodruff at Virginia Avenue and work our way down. These pictures were taken in anticipation of the road being rebuilt in 1935. Notice how much they filled in and raised the road when they widened it. Now, paralleling Woodruff and just above it is a little street called Grace Street. These steps go down to Woodruff Street. Now we'll go up Merrimack Street, which connects Woodruff and McArdle. Here it crosses Virginia Avenue. Reams Park has been providing recreation for kids for well over a century. These kids find a good way to cool off in the middle of summer. And now we'll continue our journey down Grandview Avenue. St. Mary of the Mont Catholic Church has been a focal point from the city for over 125 years. Grandview Avenue was once simply known as High Street, but the popularity of the majestic views of the city, even during the smoky industrial years, led the city to rename it, just like it went from the more gritty Coal Hill to the more welcoming Mount Washington. The view has always attracted crowds throughout the years. In the mid-1960s, the city built these promenades to better accommodate the crowds of visitors. As we get to Shiloh Street and the Monongahela Incline, we see them preparing to pave Grandview Avenue beyond the streetcar tracks, which are already paved with Belgian block. And speaking of the Monongahela Incline, or the Mon Incline as it's known locally, let's take a closer look at it. It opened to passengers in 1870, over 150 years ago, and is the oldest continuously operated funicular in the United States. The pulley in the center of this picture was powered by steam from the station on the right, but they switched to electric in 1935. This postcard from 1906 describes the wonder of it all. It was built to help workers get up Coal Hill, as it was known then, and on that first day in 1870, just about 400 people used it. But the second day, over 4,000 people used it, and it became a success. The large cars on the left carried horses and later on automobiles, but it closed in 1935. Of the 17 passenger carrying inclines that used to be in Pittsburgh. The Mon is only one of two that are left, the other being the Duquesne Incline, which we highlighted in part 1. Another way to get up to Mount Washington is a little hilly, twisty road called Sycamore Street. There are no level sections on Sycamore. You can see where it goes under McArdle Roadway here. There used to be many more houses along Sycamore. It looks like the person that lived in this house used to raise racing pigeons. But believe it or not, there was a time in the early 90s when this little road was probably more famous worldwide than even Grandview Avenue. That's when Pittsburgh hosted the Thrift Drug Classic Bicycle Race. That's when the riders would ride up Sycamore 11 to 14 times. See if you can do it even once.
Will be in Pittsburgh for a very tough summer, along with some reckless descents, treacherous turns, and the chance to legally speed down city streets. The Thrift Drug Classic. The pros chose Pittsburgh for one of the nation's top professional bike races, and it's bound to be one of the most electrifying. See what excitement, strategy, and lightning-fast action is all about. The Thrift Drug Classic. Come out and follow the leaders.
It just keeps going and going and going. When we reach Wyoming here, we'll have to go around to get up to Shiloh Street, but here's a few pictures. And we'll finish today's journey back in time on Shiloh Street. The ladies' dining room was in the rear. Thanks for joining me. See you next time for another Time Travel with Tim.